Okay, hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kevin Bargness. I'm with the Communications Division of the Department of Planning and Development. I wanted to let you know that this webinar is being recorded and is being live streamed on DPD's YouTube page for later viewing. You can also find it later on at chicago.gov/South Shore. And with that, I'll turn it over to Lisa.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank everyone for joining us for this pre-bid conference regarding the 16 parcels on 2 development sites along East 79th Street and South Exchange Boulevard. Today with us from staff, I have 2 other individuals that I would like to introduce. Chris Jang. Chris, would you like to make some comments and welcome people here?
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Jang, and I'll be helping Lisa to answer any questions. And welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Chris. We also have Daniel Kleiber, who's with our Landmarks Division. Dan?
Hi, everyone. Dan Kleiber with DPD. I'm in the Historic Preservation Division, and I'm here also to help Lisa answer any questions, especially with regards to historic preservation matters.
And last but not least, we have Arthur Dolensky, who is with our Corporation Counsel. Arthur?
Hi, hope everyone's having a good day.
Thank you, Arthur. So again, today's agenda, we just finished up the welcomes. I'm going to do a presentation of upcoming RFPs. I'll do a brief presentation regarding the RFP for 79th and Exchange. Then we'll have a question and answer period in which I'll be reading from the chat. So anytime you have a question, just jot it down from the chat, and I'll be reading off those questions, directing it to the appropriate person to respond and answer. And then we'll end by giving the next steps in the process. So we'd like to start off with what are the Invest Southwest RFPs? So the Invest Southwest RFPs, request for proposals, solicits development proposals for city-owned land. And in this case, privately owned land in which the owner is a willing participant in the process. Traditionally, RFPs simply provided details regarding the subject property, the size, the zoning, the appraised value, and a brief indication of preferred use. But with the Invest Southwest RFPs, we go one step further and illustrate the desired urbanism of the site, as well as a more robust description of uses desired by the community. It is also built, these RFPs are also built on an understanding of available incentives and partner those incentives with the proposed development to ensure a high level of financial feasibility. So there have been 10 Invest Southwest RFPs released to date, 3 winners selected and 4 under review. The first round was in August of 2020, and awards were issued March of this year. The second round or release of RFPs occurred in November, and those are currently under review. And now we're at this stage where we released 3 additional RFPs as of April of this month, the end of April. And those RFPs are in Humboldt Park, 2 are in Humboldt Park and 1 is in South Shore. And the due date is August 31st. So looking at the winning RFPs or the winning responded to the RFPs, we see that there's more than $65 million invested in these 3 Chicago neighborhoods. Those first 3 RFPs were located in Inglewood, Auburn Gresham, and Austin. You may have heard of a little bit about some of these RFPs. Austin United Alliance is a almost a $38 million project. It's a 70-unit mixed income rental building, incubator, and community co-working space and plaza. Evergreen Imagine is a $19.4 million project with 56 affordable housing units and ground floor retail, designed to complement the planned Chicago Prize winning Healthy Lifestyle Hub, which is right across the street. And they won a few $1 million for that development. Then there's Inglewood Connect, which is $10.3 million project, and it's adaptive reuse of a landmark fire station. November 2020, those RFPs that were released were in South Chicago at 89th and Commercial, 25,000 square feet. Bronzeville, 47th and Vincennes, development is looking at a 26,300 square foot development. New City at 47th and Justine, North Lawndale, which is at Ogden and Holman Avenue. So now we're here to the RFPs that have been released on at the end of April. 2 in Humboldt Park, 1 on North Avenue, the old Pioneer Bank building at North Avenue in Pulaski, and then on Chicago Avenue, at Chicago Avenue in Central Park. And then the subject of this pre-bid conference, the South Shore site, which is 2 sites on the northwest corner of 79th and Exchange and the southeast corner of 79th Exchange in South Shore. So I'm going to hone in specifically on the South Shore one. Again, it's a 2-part site, which includes vintage low-rise buildings and vacant land adjacent to the Metro train station, the Cheltenham Metrical Electric main line. The goals of the RFP include the construction and the rehabilitation of transit-oriented housing and ancillary uses. You can find more information in the RFP where it talks about the visioning of the gateway on page 9 of the RFP. So I'm gonna break down and talk about the project site itself. Site A, if you can see my cursor, contains about 5 pins, and Site B contains the remaining pin, one of which is a city-owned land. Site A is B3-2, Site B is C1-2. So Site A is improved with 2 buildings. One is a 1-story storefront in need of substantial improvements. The other is a 2-story building with 3 storefronts and 5 second-floor occupied apartments at this time. Site B, well, let me let you see a little bit of Site A. So Site A contains this beautiful building on the corner, right across from the Metro train station. This building was featured in a movie called Barbershop. I believe it was Barbershop 1 and 2. This is some massing designs that our pro bono team, which helped us come up with a vision along with the community and worked with the community, come up with a vision for this gateway site, developed these massings that we looked at with the retention of the barbershop, what I'm calling the barbershop building, and the development of mixed use and housing towards the north. Site B is improved with a 2-story building with 2 retail and 2 apartment units. It's all vacant, and one of which was a former bank building. It's called the Charles Ringer Building, and I'll show you that in a second. What's outlined here in red is the city-owned PIN. So here's a massing design, another massing design that the pro bono team came up with. This is a sample of the Ringer Building. This is what's on the corner of 79th and Exchange on the southeast corner. This is the Ringer Building here at your top right corner. It is currently on the historical survey and it's listed as yellow. Here's some interior pictures of these pictures are a little older. It's not as well maintained interiorly as this picture depicts. It's actually in pretty bad shape interiorly, but it does have a lot of significant artifacts left in there. And so we're coming to our overall concept design for the South Shore. What you didn't see was the 1-story building that I mentioned before that was just west of the barbershop building. This one-story building, the team contemplated it being demolished and a new building put in place, mixed-use building be put in place here, housing in the north of the barbershop, maintaining of that white clad building on the southeast corner and the Ringer building, but building a new construction sort of wraparound that could be some type of institutional medical use. So when we looked at the entire area, this is the corridor, the Invest Southwest corridor on the south side of Chicago. In the South Shore area, this corridor is divides two community areas. To the north is South Shore, to the south is South Chicago. It runs from Stony to Exchange. And where you see the star is where we decided to start with in creating this gateway. Just some quick market area demographics that was done by the consultants. There are approximately 39,000 households. The household size of 2.3, median income approximately 36,000. There are 30% owners, 51% are renters, and they currently have 18% vacant units. I think it's important to state at this point that the community would like to have more ownership in the neighborhood to try to create more stability. When looking at the retail market potential, I think the important thing to note here is that there's currently a retail leakage of $2 million in this area. Here are some more development concept plans. I showed you this one before. Here's an up close of what it would look, how this would activate this corner. This is parcel B on the right side of the screen. You kind of see that they kind of looking at the Ringer building as being some kind of community gathering place or incubator. This is images looking to the west, northwest sort of what it would look like near the Metro train tracks. So there are potential financial incentives that could be involved in the overall development of this property. Because the Ringer building is yellow, if this property was landmark, there's possibility of getting some type of landmark funding. Property tax incentive classifications. They encourage the full utilization and new construction of commercial buildings in areas in need of commercial, and this is definitely one of those. Another incentive is the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. Is grant funding that will pay for the development or rehabilitation of real estate and projects that support new or expanding businesses or cultural assets in many of the Chicago South and West Side neighborhoods. New market tax credits are available, and of course TIF. And you can find more information out regarding planning framework or the financial development incentives, I should say, on page 40 of the RFP. So the evaluation criteria and partnership overview, and this is subject to change, but the overview of evaluation, we're looking for promotion of short and long-term community wealth building. So we're looking for bidding teams formed through creative and innovative partnership models that showcase equitable control, ownership, and or decision-making authority of Black and Latinx partners, not subcontractors, but you can find more information regarding this within the RFP. We're looking for the bidders to provide a track record of working and making investments in the South and West Side communities, collaboration with and support from community-based organizations, community residents, key stakeholders, etc. We're looking for professional and technical competence. Professional and technical competence is evidenced by the professional qualifications and specialized experience of development team, commitment to high quality design, and an exhibition of adherence to the most recently released design excellence principles. We will review that in the next coming slides. And economic feasibility. what is your purchase price, the financial qualification, the total project of the development. So a little bit more explanation on our partnership model. The City of Chicago and DPD are committed to inclusive economic development that increases the capacity of the participants from racial and ethnic minorities and residents who are members of historically disadvantaged groups. As part of Invest Southwest, this RFP has dual goals: to build development sites in an identified community area, to maximize the participation and ownership of local Black and Latinx residents in all phases of a project, including but not limited to design, development, construction, financing, and operation. The expectation is that bidding teams / partnerships reflect the demographics of the community area where the development will take place. Achieving design excellence. So when the mayor launched the Invest Southwest as a transformative approach to reinvesting equitably in the fabric of Chicago's South and West Side neighborhoods, this list will do a great deal to promote the qualifications of established and emerging firms that reflect the diversity of the city, and firms uniquely positioned to play an important role in this work. So we do have a list of pre-qualified design service firms, and you will find that in the addendum of the RFP. So the achieving design excellence, prioritizing inclusive design process to foster equitable development. So we're looking for high quality design. We're not looking for the same thing. We're looking for transformative. We're looking for something that's sustainable, and that will fit in any community within the city of Chicago. Building wealth locally in the community by involving local partners in development team. Local developers hire local contractors and lease to local businesses. So there's 4 potential levels of local involvement: the development team, the designer team, the contractor and trades, and the tenants and businesses that locate within that retail space. So I've gone through these pretty quickly. So the RFP process and next steps. So we are currently in step 2, where we're hoping that many of you are preparing your proposals to submit. Again, the deadline is August 31st of this year. Once we receive that, we will evaluate. Respondents will present proposals to the community, and the evaluation committee will review. That's about a 2-month process. Step 4 is where the developer is selected and negotiations begin. Throughout this time, there will be continued engagement with the community. We're walking step in step with the community on these RFPs. So this is an overview of the RFP release timeline. You'll see that August and November 2020, that timeline is there too. We're currently in the blue timeline, 3rd quarter. Well, right now we're in the 2nd quarter, and we're looking for responses to be developed. And we hope to move through this process where construction will begin 3rd quarter of next year. So that's the end of my presentation. I will look to see if there are any questions. There are no questions at this time. If you have a question, I want to continue to encourage you to put them in the chat. You're welcome, Patrick Slattery. Are there
Yep.
any questions?
Yeah, folks, so just go ahead and type them into the Q&A box, and Lisa will work through them as they come in. Thanks a lot.
Well, perhaps I can read off of some of the questions and answers that is also attached in the RFP, or on the website, I should say. There's a list of questions and answers. It says we can submit. There's a question. Thank you. It says we can submit for either one or two sites. Will we be disadvantaged if we submit for only one site? How would you find a team for the other site? So though there will not be a disadvantage for either one, you will not be penalized for that. And we will have to make a decision on how to move forward with the site. If the other site is not chosen, if it's not a proposal received for one of the two sites, we will make a decision with the community on what the next step should be. How much is the affordable component in this, or is it on what is feasible base? So first of all, what was presented in the RFP is a concept, is an example. Developers are able to submit whatever development plan they have. We will be looking at the feasibility of this project. A developer may come in and don't need any city assistance. Wouldn't we love that? So these are just examples. This is nothing written in stone. They don't have to take our numbers. We were just showing what was feasible based upon the incentives that the city has, and the concept that was helped birth through community engagement with our pro bono team that helped us go through that process.
Lisa, if I can add
Sure.
to your response, if you look at the RFP document, page 37, we do actually state that priority would be given to RFP responses that incorporates market rate units into the proposed development to the extent that they are financially feasible. So we're definitely looking for some sort of a market rate unit mix in the housing portion of the project. But obviously, it needs to make a financial, sense to it.
Yes,
So I
absolutely.
just want to add that.
Thank you for that. Absolutely, absolutely. That is the community's preference. Any additional questions?
And Lisa, you could also mention that the RFP requires that developers comply with the city's ARO requirements.
Okay.
Or I just mentioned it for you, thanks.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just gonna read off a question. Wait, is there a site walk for the RFP? Yes, there is. I believe it's May 26th at 2 p.m. at the site. We will probably send out another invite closer to that time to see how many people will participate in it. Are there any existing CAD format-based site plans that architects can receive from, I would assume, DPD? No, we're looking for the developers to come up with their own plans and ideals. Chris, am I missing something with the CAD format-based site plans? Are you looking?
No, I think you're correct. I don't think we are going to share the CAD files, but
Right.
we are looking for the developer team to kind of come up with their own vision or version of the plan.
So what was the requirements that gentleman just stated? ARO requirements, that you must meet the ARO requirements. Edward, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, Edward here. With the RFP that we released, I might be answered multiple questions here. It is assuming all affordable housing. Am I correct? Lisa, just to confirm, right? This is 79th Street.
Well, I want to say this. Let me put a caveat on that. It is market rate. At what percentage will be determined by the developer. It is also understood that the community wants market rate development.
Understood. If there is market rate incorporated, I think the minimum would be 20%.
And Lisa, I just dropped in the ARO website for more information for anybody not familiar with that requirement. There's
Thank you.
lots of good information there.
Thank you. Appreciate that. How important is experience? I have a new realtor company in the area and would love to help redevelopment the community I grew up in. Experience does play an important role. I would say look for a partner that has a development arm experience. But each proposal will be weighed based upon the criteria set in the RFP. And I'm trying to find the page for you. Selection process, page 57, or it starts at 54. Okay. Is the expectation that the residential be market rate for sale, or is market rate rental acceptable? The department will evaluate both. So it's strictly a business decision. And yeah, I better leave it there. It's strictly a business decision for you. We will be evaluating both. The community wants to build a more stable community. They're seeking stability in South Shore. And I should say, this is an awesome site with its proximity to the lake, to Rainbow Beach, what's happening in the northern part of South Shore and in Hyde Park with the Obama Library coming down on Stony Island. This is an opportunity for some real transformation to take place at this corner.
And this is Arthur. The RFP does reference that rental is a possibility. However, whichever you choose, you need to make sure that your financials address what you're proposing.
Thank you. I've never submitted an RFP. Is there some guidance or someone to help me how to get started?
So this is Arthur again. My advice is to read the RFP carefully. This is the question and answer session where if you have specific questions, we're here to answer them. Generally, it's a matter of reading and maybe taking a look and seeing what's happened with other proposals, for other projects. That might give you some background, but other than that, we can't give you any specific guidance. Everything that you need to submit is identified in the RFP.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can chime in really quick, it was mentioned that partnerships are another way that you could get that experience. So don't hesitate about considering a partnership with someone that has submitted an RFP in the past.
Absolutely. So I'm having challenges understanding. Will you all discuss the 2908 East 79th Street? That is a part of the RFP. I am not sure what your question is. I'm just gonna go back. If you're talking about the corner here, this is a part of the RFP. And if I did not mention it before, all of the sites, excuse me, everything in yellow is owned by one owner. The red is city owned, and that owner is a partner with us in the release of this RFP. I don't know if there was additional question about 2908. Can an architectural firm submit a design without a developer? Well, you can be a subcontractor, right? You can, if you have everything else in order and you want to subcontract, we will review your proposal. Can you explain how the deposit works, specifically the calculation? So in this case, and I can't remember off the top of my head, Chris, we did not have a deposit here because this is privately owned land, correct?
I believe the only earnest deposit that we required was for the city-owned parcel, that one city-owned parcel.
And so once,
And I do not think we have an appraisal back yet.
no, we don't. No, we don't.
And whatever that value is, we would actually post that appraisal once we get it on our website. And 10% of that value, appraised value, would be the earnest deposit amount.
And then in addition to the good faith deposit, depending on the proposed use, there may be an environmental deposit required by the RFP.
Okay. Looking for any other questions? I'm going to go to Chris and add, well, Dan hasn't said anything. Dan, do you want to talk about the Ringer building and make any comments?
Oh, hi, Lisa. Sure. I'll just a little few more details. So yeah, like Lisa indicated, the Ringer building is located kind of mid-block on Exchange, and it was identified in the Historic Resources Survey, and it was color-coded yellow. If you're familiar with that system, we've looked at the building, the historic preservation staff, though, and I can say that it very likely meets landmark criteria. So, you know, I'm pretty sure the RFP states that adaptive reuse is a priority for this building. And furthering of that, if interested applicants are considering exploring landmark designation, you know, the department would certainly welcome that as well. So the building, by the way, it was built in the late 20s, I believe 1928. And like Lisa said, it was the Charles Ringer Company was a real estate and mortgage business that had operated at a few different locations. And then that was kind of their final office building over there on Exchange. And they were there for several decades.
Thank you very much, Dan. Chris, do you want to have any final words?
Not really. I just want to let everybody know that we would post everybody who attended this pre-bid conference on the website, so that you know, there's some matchmaking opportunity between the designers and the developers that could potentially happen. So we would, in addition to the questions and answers that we provided today, we will also, you know, post the list of attendees to this pre-bid conference.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Mitchell, are you out there? I wanted to see if you had any final words. I don't see him. Do you see him, Kevin? Okay, we got another question. Will there be an appraisal for the privately owned parcels and buildings? Eventually, yes. Is the barbershop building required to be preserved? What about the check cash building? We understand that the Ringer building is important to preserve. So again, this is what we are, our example. There is a want for certain buildings to remain. However, developers are free to propose whatever use they like. I'm gonna give everybody a couple of seconds to think about additional questions. So this is a recurring question that I've heard today. Does each RFP indicate what type of projects are optimal for each site? And the answer is each RFP indicates desired use based on community feedback and market feasibility. Respondents may propose other uses or configurations of uses if they are consistent with the vision for the corridor set forth in the RFP. How many incentives can you stack? Well, we intend to evaluate each response based on evaluation criteria set forth in the RFP, one which is financial viability, excuse me. We are open to considering multiple layers of our incentives and others as needed in order to help make a project viable. Where can one get additional information about market demand analysis and other components that resulted in the potential projects as designed? Real estate market analysis was completed by our pro bono team, which are members of the Chicago Central Area Committee. For each RFP to inform the development concepts shown, relevant market findings can be found in the RFP, starting on page, I believe that's 40.
And if I might add, you could also find a lot of helpful information using softwares like CoStar. That might have a fee, but LoopNet is the free version of CoStar, so that has a lot of pretty good market data as well.
Can the zoning be changed to planned development? And unfortunately, my zoning people are not online. Let's see, who can I give this to? I have no volunteers.
You could give it to me, Lisa, if you want.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
I mean, I think it's, you know, a plan development is most generally a function of a project's size, and so it's an automatic trigger. So, but these are reusing of a lot of buildings. It depends automatically. It depends on the size of the overall scope, how many units are proposed, etc. So, I think it's safe to say that the department would entertain a plan development and, you know, all of the requirements that are part of plan developments, you know, in order to accomplish the goals of the RFP. So.
Thank you. Let's see if I have any additional questions. But so again, part of the addendum of the RFP, you will find a ton of information regarding the teams we have, pre-qualified design teams. You will also find on the website the list of frequently asked questions. There's some policy resources and different submission forms and affidavits will also be found in the addendum of the RFP. So at this time, I am going to, it is now 2:45. If there aren't any additional questions, I'm going to thank each and every one of you guys for joining us today. And I hope that we receive some proposals, some exciting proposals for 79th and Exchange. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye. I don't know how to end the call.
Invest Southwest RFP. Oops.
Okay, he's gone. I'm going to just hit this. Okay, got it. End meeting for all. Bye, everybody.